We are extremely pleased to have today with us representatives from the Small Business Development Center. We have Dane Riachi, who is a small business specialist, yes, small business specialist, and we have Kayla, who is an accounting intern working at the Small Business Development Center. So if you haven't heard of the Small Business Development Center, they are a resource. It's a statewide network of resources for entrepreneurs in the state of Tennessee, and they provide things such as advising services, training services, and much more to help entrepreneurs and businesses. And the greatest thing about it is they're actually a free resource, which is really cool. So furthermore, it is really cool that we actually have the SBDC located right here on Tennessee Tech's campus. So that is one more reason that you all selected a great school when you joined Tennessee Tech. And that's one more reason that we continue to talk about resources that Tennessee Tech wants to put in place for you. Here's another great one. And so tonight we're going to talk about business planning and we're going to talk about financials. So I just wanted to say thank you very much, Dane, for your time. And we also appreciate, she wasn't able to be here tonight, but Jen D'Angelo is the director of that center. And Jen has a very, very long history working with our Innovation Entrepreneurship Program, and she was actually there at the very start of the very beginning of EagleWorks. So again, we really appreciate the partnership. I know y'all are going to learn a lot tonight from Dane, so without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right, so as you said, my name is Dane Riachi. I am the financial specialist at the Tennessee Small Business Development Center. I've been working there for 3 years now. We've helped hundreds of clients just kind of start their business and kind of, well, on my side, since I have the accounting background, I just help them with the business planning process, setting up legally, go for financing, things along those lines. So as he mentioned, we're just going to go over the business planning process today. I'm mainly going to highlight the financial projection side though, since that's my strengths, and we'll go from there. So to get us started, has anybody, and I apologize, this is my first time actually doing public speaking. I am not great at it. So
well, you're doing awesome
You're
so
doing
far.
great.
I'm not good at it. I'm really good at what I do. I'm really good at making Packlets. Like, y'all have plenty of a plan of action to go home and do. And for me to help follow up with that, this is just what I'm not as great at.
Well, we're going to cut that part out of the video because you were doing an awesome job. So keep on going. Keep on keeping on.
But so, how much do y'all know about financial projections? Does anybody in here know what they are? Okay. So whenever you're going through the business planning process, there are actually 3 different types of feasibility studies that you're going to do. There is the narrative portion of the feasibility study, which is just going to talk about your business in general, like what your business is, what your plan is, if there is a need in the marketplace for your type of business, and then how you plan on filling that need. There's going to be the marketing feasibility study, which is just going to go over the marketing research that you're going to do, tell how much of a marketplace there is, look at the demographics for it and how you plan on entering the marketplace. And then there is the financial side of the feasibility study, which is what we're looking at with financial projections. This kind of is just going to it's going to talk about your products and prices of your business. It's going to take everything that you've learned from the marketing section and it's going to combine that into one, and then you'll make assumptions off of what you believe your business is going to make for the next 3 to 5 years. Let's see. With that in mind, the financial side, in my opinion, it is the most important of the 3 different types of feasibility studies, just because it's the one, if you're going to be talking to any bankers, if you're going to talk to investors or anything along those lines, this is the one they're really going to highlight to see if they want to invest into your business. Because it's going to show them, this is our plan for our business, this is how we're going to make money, here's how long we have planned to make a profit, here's how we're going to be able to pay you back when we get up to that point. So next is, why are financial projections important? So there are kind of 2 different venues to look at whenever you're looking at financial projections and why they're important. Number one is when you're looking at the investor side, you're just wanting to kind of show the best of your business. You're wanting to make reasonable assumptions where you're just kind of wanting to show them this is going to work out, we're going to start turning a profit, we're going to be able to pay you back. But more importantly, this is not something that you just want to create and kind of throw to the side. You want to have financial projections for something that you can look at with your business as you slowly start to grow. So if you make any goals for your business, if you have any SMART goals, short or long-term goals, anything like that, your financial projections are going to state those and they're going to show those. And whenever you go into business, you have something to weigh your current progress against your projections. You will use them to kind of measure the marketplace, see what supply and demand is going to be, and then adjust your business as needed depending on how the market's growing. you'll be able to compare your business against the marketplace in general to see if your business is growing with the marketplace, or if you just haven't pushed it enough and you're not doing as well for that. You'll be able to see any deviations with your business, so if you have fallen off of a plan, or just if one of your products has turned out to be more profitable than the other one, then you can slowly start to adjust your business to kind of fit those needs. So what all statements are made with financial projections? So are there any accounting majors in here? I didn't think so. How many business majors do we have? So there are 3 statements that you'll look at making with financial projections. There is the income statement, which is just going to state your revenues and expenses and show your net income. It's just going to show that for a period of time. There is your statement of cash flow, which states where you're going to expect money to come in from and where you're going to be putting it out towards. And there's the balance sheet, which just weighs your assets, liabilities, and shareholders' equity against each other, and hoping that your business is in balance. So with that in mind, we'll get over to the part I'm good at, which is the creation of this packet, and kind of just talking about where you are going to go from here whenever you're looking at financial projections. So if Kayla will help me pass these out. Okay, so this is pretty much the packet that I made you guys. So one thing that I do at the SBDC is whenever I'm creating financial projections, it's a lot easier for me to use a program called LivePlan, because it is a fully online collaborative business planning software. So me and a client, we can work on it at the same time. We can just do it over the internet. But one thing that it does provide is financial projections for you. So instead of you going in and you having to look at creating these financial statements, it asks you questions like you're going to see on these pages that you're just allowed to kind of put in more simplistic information, and it will build those projections for you.
Is Lifetime like open source? Like, go to it and use it without a
It
subscription?
is not. Nope. It's actually it's kind of a partner through us. We do partner with them, so people through the SBDC, they get a discount on it. What I'm going to do for you guys though is we have a few free accounts. So as y'all go through this process of creating your financial projections, there is a plan of action on the last page, which will just talk about all this and what you should do. Y'all will just do this, look at this information, this worksheet, start kind of planning out your business on that front, send us over the information, and then Kay was going to input it into LivePlan for me.
That's what I'll do. Try not to mess it up.
Yes, she will build that into LivePlan for us, and then I will use that to create the financial projections for you to send back to y'all. And so that way y'all ain't got to worry about the process of actually creating the financial statements, because honestly that's the hardest process about it. Y'all can just look at your financial statements and then start to obtain a general understanding of, here are the working parts within a financial statement. So with that in mind, first thing I want to ask y'all is when you're looking at this worksheet, don't instantly start filling it in. I had a few people test this out for me. They instantly just started going through and filling it in and was kind of hoping for the best. Does not work that way. So make sure to just read over it once, see what it says, and then open up a Word document, because that's probably going to be the best way for y'all to send this over to me. Open up a Word document and start typing them up, kind of like you see the examples on the final page of each one of these. So the first one that you're looking at is financial projection questions for revenues. Pretty much revenues is just how your business is going to make money and where is it coming from. So whatever your business is going to be, hopefully you're going to be turning a profit somewhere. So this is what that is. This is your revenue streams where you're selling your product or services. When looking through this, mainly you'll determine what your revenues are going to be. You'll provide a name for your revenues. So does anybody have an example business in here, or are y'all not that far into it? I'm gonna say not that far into it. Okay. So let's use a boutique for an example. A revenue for that would just be selling jewelry or selling some type of clothing or something along those lines. So you would just put in here, what are you wanting to call it? What are you wanting to call that revenue stream? Clothes sales or something along those lines. And then you will determine which one of these sections applies to your style of revenue. So in that instance, that would be based off unit sales. So you will just say that, I'm looking at selling blank units per month per year. I'm going to be charging this much for each unit, and then you'll go through and you'll just keep rolling this out until you slowly build all of your individual revenue streams. There's, I think, a few different examples. There's like unit sales, billable hours, miscellaneous revenue if that doesn't apply to any of those, and then some examples provided on that. But that's the general idea behind revenues. Is there any questions on that one? Okay. If y'all do have any questions, feel free to ask. So number 2 is direct costs. These are costs that are directly associated with your revenues. Most business majors will know them as cost of goods sold. Whenever you're doing anything, like let's say if we're doing a bakery business, then our direct costs would be the aspects to go into that, like the food items. So this could either be general costs, you could either just have like general and direct costs for your business, or you could have some that are applied to a specific revenue stream. So as you're reading through these, just kind of have in mind, which one is going to apply for your direct cost. So if, let's say if you do like a t-shirt design or something like that, then your direct cost would be the t-shirts that you're going to put the designs on them and sell those. So that would actually be a percentage of your revenue stream rather than a general direct cost. Any questions on those? Pretty much, honestly, most of this is self-explanatory, but I do want y'all to kind of get the general concept of it, and if you do have questions, always feel free to ask. Next one's personnel. If you're going to be hiring any employees, paying insurance, taxes, all that things on your employees. One thing good about LifePlan is you just have to focus on hiring the employees, what you're going to name them, how much you're going to pay them, if you're going to give them a raise, things along those lines. This actually inputs all of the Social Security tax, Medicare, all that for you. So you ain't got to worry about that side, but that will be built into it. Let's see. Next is expenses. This is just kind of a general list of expenses that go for your business. So utilities, electric, water, internet. There's actually a list, I think, 2 more pages deep into this, where we just provided a list of all the general expenses, or at least most of the general expenses that startup businesses are going to incur. So look through the list, see what all are going to apply to you. If there are some that will apply to you that are not on this list, always just feel free to send this over, and we'll just input them into it for you. Next is assets. So one of the things is, whenever you're doing all these, a lot of this is pretty simple. Revenues and expenses. Those are going to help build your income statement. They're going to help build your cash flow statements. One thing that most people don't think about is you're actually going to be purchasing assets for your business, whether you're doing something technology-based or you just need a company car or something along those lines. This is actually going to just directly apply to the balance sheets. So you have something to balance all your liabilities against. So if you take out a loan, let's say, to buy the equipment for this, then all of this would show up on the balance sheet. But if you are, I think 2 more pages down, we do one that's called startup costs. So whatever business you're planning, you're probably going to have to buy some assets for. That would go in this section. The next one is financing. So most businesses are usually looking to receive a loan if they're going to go into business. There's a lot of steps that go into receiving a loan. One of them is actually the creation of a business plan and financial projections. The other ones are just based on your personal factors like your credit score, down payment, collateral coverage, things along those lines. So whenever you're planning out your business, if it's something that you do not believe that you are going to be able to start up on your own without financing, that's what this section would be for. So just on the startup costs, find all those out, and then whatever you think you're going to need as in working capital or to get the equipment or things along those lines, that's what would fall in the financing section. The next page is just the general business expenses that we mentioned prior. Kind of covers everything. If not, if you have some that just aren't on this page, always feel free to add them. The number one's just kind of the general startup costs. It's a basic example of it. So whenever you're planning out your business, you're probably going to incur a lot of startup costs, such as rent and lease, or marketing, or website development, or even technology to create your product. So this is where you would put all that. And then the last one is just the outline to where we're discussing what we're talking about today. So I know I talk fast, and a lot of this is a lot harder to go into detail in such a short time frame. But if there is anything that you have questions about, always feel free to reach out to me. But from the last page where it says your financial projection seminar outline, there is a plan of action on the very last of it. With this in mind, just whenever you're going through this process, whenever you're going to create your financial projections, always feel free to reach out to me to ask any questions. It has my email address on this, and you'll also have my business card on your page. But as soon as you finish going through the process, just send it over to me and we'll start implementing in there. I will only be using one LifePlan account for this, so if I implement something into it and then I have to implement it for another group, that means your information will have to be deleted from it. So if you do need me to make changes to it, try to keep that to a minimum. because they don't have to go in and mix it out all y'all's over and over. But after that, as we start sending them back to you, I will also send over some additional work on here's what the working parts of these financial projections are, to kind of explain like if they're going to ask you questions about this, if they're like talking about your net profit or anything like that, or if they're just talking about the feasibility of your projections, then I will send over more information on that. So that's the basics for creating the financial projections. Once you have them created, how do you know if your financial projections are correct or at least on the right trail? So the one thing that we do for clients, or one thing in addition we do for clients, is we use your NAICS code, which is your North American Industry Classification System. We use that code for whatever you fall under. We enter that into one of our programs called Profit Sense, and then that will pull industry benchmarks for you. What industry benchmarks are is it's kind of like it's these 3 financial statements, but it's based off percentages instead of actually showing what a company's is. So whatever industry you fall under, there are hundreds of other industries out there like that have already been doing this, and where they're submitting their data, it's building these benchmarks. So that way you can have a general understanding of, is my profit margin too high? Like, let's say if you're doing a restaurant and you're making 50% profit, that's probably unrealistic. It might be a little bit too high. 2, 3, 5% is probably more realistic. And so that's what we would use to actually go against your financial projections to see if they are more feasible. Does anybody have any questions?
When do we need to create the financial projections, narratively, marketing, financials, respectively?
So you will first start with your narrative portion. You're just going to be talking about your business idea. Kind of get your plan down on paper. I know Andrea sent me over a few examples. They were about 5 to 10 pages long. You just start with your narrative portion first. You get that all down on paper, and then you start looking into the marketing research. Has anybody talked to them about any of that?
Not really.
What resources do they have available?
So, I'll say it up for a second.
Yep.
So your business plan is really just going to be more of an executive summary of what you're doing with your business model canvas, which hopefully you came to that, or if you haven't, you've watched the video. This is not going to be a very, very detailed 80-page business plan. 5 to 10 pages max.
Yeah. But we don't have any rules on the minimum or the maximum amount of pages.
Yeah.
But
if you do 300 pages, no one's going to read it.
exactly,
so
you got to think
really
about
don't
it.
do
The
that.
preliminary judges are going to see 6, 7, 8 teams,
Yeah.
and they've got about a week to read it. So
Yeah.
you need to be able to communicate the facts that you have solved a problem. There's a customer for it. You know that you can make some money. You've got some. You've got a approximate market size. Those are the things you want. And the template that we'll provide to you. You don't have to use it, but we provide a template that's actually based on the rubric. So it's an easy formatted way to for the judges to see all that stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like y'all have too much of a narrative portion, like 5 to 10 pages. It's not that terrible. As long as you have a good grasp on what your business idea is, just make sure you know, is there a need for this, and how are you going to fill that need? Like most people would do a SWOT analysis or something along those lines to go with the business plan. Have most of y'all heard about that? I have a few nods. I'm gonna go with yes on that one then. Okay. So it doesn't sound that would be too hard for y'all. So start with the narrative portion first. Just get a grasp of what you're wanting to do. Get that down on paper. What do they have for the marketing section?
I'm sorry. Say it again.
Marketing.
For the marketing section of it,
It's-
what do y'all do for them? Or
Well, that's
It's
clarify the question.
yeah.
like usually whenever we're going through the business planning process with our clients, we
Mhm.
will use like Reference USA or something along those lines
Mhm.
to kind of get an understanding of what the market is like for them.
Right. Right.
Just like general share percentage, or just
Mhm.
like how many of their customers are there out there, or things along those lines.
We don't currently provide anything
Yeah.
Okay,
for that.
gotcha. Okay. Don't focus on that section then. Not yet.
I'm not
And-
saying don't do it. I'm just saying we just
Yes, whatever
we
you
don't have a
can.
mechanism to provide y'all with that. But we have partners like SBDC. We have Sharon Holderman downstairs in the library who has access to databases that have that, and College of Business also has access to the Bloomberg terminals, which can assist with that.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. So with that in mind, if y'all do want to use the SBDC, what we can assist with is, I don't have any of y'all's emails, obviously. Whenever y'all email me over some of the financial projection information, then I can, whenever y'all send that over to me, just whenever you're planning out your growth strategy for your business, like where you're going to target, what areas, whatever demographics you're going to target, whether it be specific genders or age group or anything like that. Send that information over to me, and I can have our administrative assistant, Kylie, pull some of the numbers for you. So that way you can have something numerical to put in your business plan as well. And then any other means you see to work on your marketing section, such as the things that tech allocates for you, feel free to use those.
And just to note, your business plan or executive summary will be due to me. I think it's March 22nd. Do not leave this to the last minute. If any of you are sending things to Dane on March 21st, he's not helping you. Like,
Well,
just
Kayla.
either
Neither.
We'll do
one.
most of that for you.
Yeah.
How quickly
we're-
can
don't-
you get it
don't
back?
do that.
Like what's ideal?
As soon as you send one of these over, depending on how much you have into your business, like some of y'all are probably going to flesh it out a little bit more than others. But if it is going to be one that's just average and fair, then she could probably do it in an hour or two
Yeah,
to put into
I
the
work
system.
every day, a little bit, Monday through Friday, so.
Yeah.
If
And
they do the 22nd, when would you want to have them from everyone by? Like 13th, 14th?
Yeah, we
Is
can
that
do it
good?
before, it'd be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So 13th or 14th if you want assistance, but try and get it well before that.
Yeah, which that'll give us plenty of time to create something to send over to you to understand the financial projection side, like what is within the documents. But from that point, it'll also give you time to review the information we send over, and then you can just ask questions if you have any. So at this time, does anybody have any questions on the financial projections, or they're all kind of quiet?
It's a lot to take in, isn't it?
It is. Y'all are not making my first one easy. Yes, go ahead.
Do you help with like taxes for a small business starting up?
I talked to them about like how their small business is going to be taxed and everything along those lines, but we are debarred from providing professional service for them. Since we are paid through taxes, we provide this free consultation, one-on-one consultations or trainings. So I can talk to you about taxes. My background's in accounting, so realistically I could help you with taxes, but it's not something that I can go into for you or or assist you in the process of.
All right.
Why do you ask?
Just figuring out taxes.
Okay, gotcha.
They're kind of difficult.
Makes sense. Yeah. Anybody else?
And by the way, if you do any of the mini grant, hey, Dr. Stress, if you do any of the mini grants, so for example, the Eureka mini grants, or if you do I-Corps, that is given to you as a grant, so that is by default tax-free.
Are there a deadline for grants?
So I'm sorry?
Are there a deadline for grants?
What you want to do for the Eureka, there's not really a deadline per se. You just need to do the application. For I-Corps, there are some deadlines, but we will let you know about that. The deadline being you need to sign up for a cohort by a certain date. We make those announcements. And then also, speaking of tax-free, if you win any money, if you win any awards at EagleWorks, again, those are awarded as a scholarship, and being as you all are students, that is also by default tax-free. So if we wrote you all a check, that would be a whole different ballgame, which we don't. All right?
All right. So does anybody else have any questions? No? Okay, well, that's pretty much it for me. That's kind of how I approach things is honestly, here's the things for you to do. Send it over to me, and I will help you out with the process. And if you have any questions, responding through email is a lot easier for me. Even one-on-one, if y'all need to come in and talk about something, that's always a lot easier. But just let me know. Just start it and have fun with it. Go ahead.
Where are you located?
We are located over in
Foundation.
Yes, Foundation Hall. We used to be in Johnson, then we moved to Regents Bank, and now we're in Foundation Hall, so we're back on tech.
All right.
Yeah, we're in office 314.
If you get on the elevator and follow the signs, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Super
All right.
easy.
Well, that's it for me, unless anybody else has anything.
Okay. Well, you've got Dane for the next however long you're here, and
Yep.
so please feel free to continue asking the questions. If you need to ask him personal, or not personal question, but if you would need to work one-on-one with him, don't feel like
Yeah, feel free to.
asking in public, please feel free. What time is it?
It's 5:26.
Okay, great. What
Yeah,
questions
that's
do you all have about the competition in general? We can go ahead and stop that, by the way.
Oh.